Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Nadav Gordon, and I'm responsible for strategic accounts here at HeadSpin. I'm joined by my colleague, Jamie Moore, one of our senior sales engineers. And today, hey, Jamie, and today we're going to spend some time to talk about how your organization can run tests using the HeadSpin platform on your applications across a variety of different use cases, and then capture and contextualize a host of different performance KPIs. So here's a look at the topics that we'll be covering. I'll spend a few minutes to give you a quick overview of HeadSpin as a company and a platform, and then I'll turn it over to Jamie, who's going to walk you through an overview and demo of how exactly we capture and analyze performance KPIs, followed by a Q&A session. If you have any questions, you can click on the Q&A tab in the control panel of the Zoom application and enter them there, and then we'll answer them after Jamie concludes his demo. So I'm now going to turn off my camera to conserve some bandwidth. Give me just a moment. All right, now let's get started. So who is HeadSpin and what do we offer? So HeadSpin's a 7-year-old company based in Sunnyvale, California, and we were founded on the premise of helping our customers execute synthetic testing on real-world digital experiences. So as you may be aware, speed, ease of use, and ensuring the experience is consistent are critically important to the success of every enterprise. And that's where HeadSpin's platform really comes into play. So we recognize that delivering a great digital experience is an act of deep collaboration between product management, development, testing, and site reliability engineering teams, and our platform helps to drive that collaboration. So we're backed by the likes of Google Ventures and other notable firms. And in addition to Google also being one of our top customers, we've been blessed to be able to partner with some amazing brands such as Amazon, Pinterest, Walmart, and a host of others whose digital experiences are undeniably tied to business results. We serve customers across industry verticals, and some of these customers are being served across multiple geographies with hundreds of devices under test. Our platform allows organizations to get a clear end-to-end view of the digital experiences that organizations offer. And the way that we're able to do this is by using real devices and quality of experience analytics for mobile, web, audio, video, and other connected experiences like Internet of Things and even infotainment dashboards in cars. And our platform can be broken down into the 4 pillars you see here. So the first is our global device infrastructure, through which you'll be able to access hundreds of real devices to test and monitor your customer experiences end to end on actual carrier and Wi-Fi networks. And we have a presence in 50 countries and over 100 different locations. The second pillar is where you have test automation and support for essentially all testing frameworks. We have native integrations with Appium and Selenium, allowing for seamless integration into your CI/CD workflows and enabling functional and performance testing for both pre as well as post-release. And our open APIs give you the ability to export data and insights to any BI and data visualization platforms, as well as monitoring dashboards. The third pillar is where you have performance and quality of experience measurement. So our platform allows you to identify bottlenecks and issues by surfacing the underlying root causes from all layers of your technology stack. So whether it be audio or video quality of experience, to the code and even packet visibility. Our platform gives you the ability to measure KPIs that you care about, whether they're extensive app, device, network, and even critical user journeys and screen transitions. We have 140 KPIs that come out of box in the platform, and we can customize additional KPIs that your organization cares about and wants to measure if that's of interest to you. And then finally, insights to actions. So this is where HeadSpin really separates itself from other device farms where you typically only get a pass or a fail grade on the tests that you run. we're able to deliver deep regression and aggregation insights throughout the digital lifecycle. So over time, you can build your regression intelligence using real analysis and metadata from the sessions that you run on the devices that you choose to run them on. And the final piece is how we deploy. So I mentioned earlier that we have infrastructure in 50 different countries and 100 different locations, and we offer several different models, including on-premise, cloud, which is either single or multi-tenant, hybrid options, which are kind of the best of both worlds approach, and a create your own lab capability. So if you're on-premise, if you're looking for an on-premise deployment and you want to host devices internally, we have appliances called the P box and the AV box, which you can see here on the left-hand side. And you can host up to 24 devices in a P box and 2 devices in an AV box. The AV box was specifically built for rich audio and media use cases. It's isolated from sound and light and is the only apparatus of its kind in the marketplace today. If a cloud deployment is of interest to you, it's our most popular option. And in this model, you would leverage HeadSpin infrastructure by picking a data center in any one of our 100 locations globally and deploying the devices of your choice. The hybrid model, which is where I mentioned you can kind of get a best of both worlds approach, is where you can leverage a mixture of HeadSpin infrastructure as well as your own, and you have the ability to deploy an apparatus in a country where we don't currently have a data center if you choose to do so. And lastly, we offer a capability called Create Your Own Lab, and this is where you can essentially plug in devices to your laptop and run tests remotely while leveraging the HeadSpin remote control that Jamie will show you as part of the demo. And so that concludes the high-level overview of our platform. I'll now turn it over to Jamie to walk through a demo of our performance KPI capture and analysis. Jamie, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Nadav. Hey, and thanks everyone for joining today. Really appreciate it. I did have some slides I wanted to go over, which I will highlight. So let me share my screen. So this is a slide that Nadav just ended up with. So what I want to start with before we get into the actual demo is talk about why do we even need to capture anything? How do we capture it? And then what type of analysis can we do on that information that we collect, right? So the reason why we need to capture information, for those of you who are into mobile testing, it's the mobile experience for testing is much more complicated than just the user interface. It's more important to know it's not just I click on this button and I go to the next screen. It's the experience that goes along with it. And then as you see in this list, just the variety of the different device types, all the different operating system versions that you've got to support with your app, the network traffic that is coming in and out of the device, the different locations that you need to test for, the carrier networks. There are a lot of different factors that can go in and to affect your user experience for your app. So how does HeadSpin have infrastructure to support all this? Well, as Nadav mentioned, we do have a P box, but we have P boxes around the world with devices that are accessible to actually run your test on, so you can get real world results from a performance perspective in the locations that matter to you. Additionally, we capture a number of KPIs. You can create some custom KPIs, and we'll be talking about that today as we go forward. So how do we do this? So from a manual perspective, and we'll actually get into this in the demo, I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but we have a recording button and you have the option to record the network traffic or skip the network traffic at your discretion. If you're not doing manual, if you're doing automation, we also support that. If you're using Appium, it's just, as you can see up here, it's just a desired capability that you would use, a HeadSpin specific desired capability to turn on the recording. And if you're not using Appium, maybe you just want to do a direct API call, we support that as well, where you can just start a session and do the recording for that. And what gets captured? And this is just a subset. I mean, as you saw on the list, there's a whole number of them that we do, but it's based on, you got to get information from the device, from the network that you're doing. And then also, you see, you can add your own KPIs that are specific to your environment and to your needs on what you want to track with your testing. All right. So we get all this information. Then what? So we can, when we do that recording, in HeadSpin vernacular, that's called a session, a performance session. So you can pull up this performance session and look at the information and examine and evaluate and analyze what happened during the timeline of that session, from both what was going on the device, what was going on the network traffic, either as you see on this top view from a highlight perspective, overall view, down to specific, this server, these are all the TCP connections that I established with this one single server. So you do that in one session. And then the next question would be, okay, well, I run this test over and over again. How can I analyze the one I did today, which might be on version 2 versus the ones I did yesterday on version 1, right? So you can compare multiple sessions together. In this top hand, we're just looking at 2 specific sessions. You can group them together and look at other sessions. And we'll get into that. So this allows you to use the regression intelligence aspect of HeadSpin to keep track of your test over time that are running, and what we call this is a user flow. So that one session where I'm doing a set of steps and I do that test over and over again, I want to group those tests, those sessions into what we call a user flow that allows me to group them together and analyze them based on my different needs. But if I have a number of user flows, even with a single user flow, how do I trend this over time? And then HeadSpin supports a dashboarding capability that we'll go into that allows you to keep track and visualize your performance as we go forward. So enough with the slide where let's get into actual product and see how all this works. So first off, this is the HeadSpin UI. If you're not familiar with it, you log in. All of our main tabs are over here to the left. So this is the remote control. This is where all the devices are. The performance sessions. This is where all the sessions are stored. Performance monitoring. This is that regression intelligence where you can go into a user flow and analyze your sessions that you have grouped together in that user flow. And then the dashboards. This is where you can represent the data how you want to. And we'll go over that today as we go through this session. So again, just kind of scrolling through, you can see this is our demo environment. We've got devices scattered around the world that you can leverage and use. So let's, you can even filter and grab a device and just hit the start button. That'll bring it up in its user interface in this manner. And then, as we saw on the slide, to start a recording session, just come up here and click. We're going to do with network. So it's starting up the recording. You see with the devices, we do have tabs over here to the right that we support. So things you can do. If you're doing automation, we can tell you the automation thing. Once the recording goes green, then it's ready to go, right? And then next to that, just to kind of highlight these buttons, we do support audio, where you can hear what's going on the device through your own speakers, and you can actually talk through your microphone and have that as an audio input into the device. But that's a topic for a later time. All right, so let's just start a session. And again, you just interact with the device as you would if it was in your hand, and just type in the, you just follow your test steps for your test case that you're executing. And go through those specific steps to exercise your application, right? So that's what testers do, right? We execute our step. You know, did I get what I expect? You know, from an actual result perspective, did I match what I wanted or not? So you go through your steps, and we're going to just do a few of these, and then we're going to stop. All right, so let's just kind of go back to where we started, just kind of make a circle here. So when you're done, you can just hit the stop recording button. And then after that, it will prompt you to go into the performance session to review it, which you can from here or not. If you're not done with the device or you want to do something else, you can go and manipulate it that way. And then I did want to highlight from a automation perspective, if you're doing Appium, like we mentioned, saw on the slide, you would actually just use this HeadSpin specific capability to turn on recording, and then you can actually launch this as a test, and it'll go and execute, and it'll, well, because I'm using it, that's why I can't execute. So that would be how that would work. So just a, we'll just let that kind of run in the background. All right. And then, if you're doing an automation test and you want to see what's going on, this is obviously the device I was trying to use. You can always click on this. And again, we're starting a session to review it, to record it, and then we'll capture all the interaction with the application as we go. All right. So we're not going to sit here and watch that execute, but that's going to execute while we go over to this tab, which is our performance session. Again, tab, this is where all the sessions are. You can see this is the one that's executing now from an automation perspective. This is the one that I just did from a manual perspective. So let's go in and look at that. So just as an introduction, this is, we call this our waterfall UI. And this session that recorded has its own unique ID. So all the information that we capture goes into our database that you can, and we'll talk about that because that's a key component for us. So all the data is stored in our database. You can share this URL with anyone on your team. They can click on that and that'll bring them right to this session. So you can see from a session-wide metrics, domain metrics, these are all the host metrics. These are all the hosts that we hit. These are all the domains that were hit during the session. This is the device we did. This is the video. So this is this waterfall UI has a lot of information on it. And we're going to just kind of scroll down a little bit. I'm not trying to fire hose anybody with too much information, but this will list out the KPIs that we're capturing from this device as we scroll down. And as I move my mouse, this is the timeline of the test. So you can see the video is matching my timeline. The time is up at the top as I scroll through. So this was basically a minute and 23 seconds that I executed this test. As you can see what was happening during that time of the test, like the frame rate, et cetera, the audio. So even if you don't have audio on, we do capture the audio from the device, the throughput. So these are all listed here for this session. All right, so we just kind of scroll down a little bit, just kind of again let you see, capture the battery information, all the information that is available from the device will capture. And then underneath the time series of that, this is where you can view all the specific HTTP traffic that occurred during that session. Right, so each one of these white bars is a TCP connection that you can hit on, and let's see, we'll just pick one like this one. So we see the bars in here, so we can actually look at how long it took to establish the connection, how long the handshake took. We did a get. How long did that take? What was the size? What was the response? How long did that take? How long did we spend waiting? All right, so all this information is captured, again, with network aspect of it. So the good thing about HeadSpin is not only do we capture this information that you can come and analyze yourself and look at and see all the different hosts that you're hitting, and you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to go there, or maybe you have a server that's awfully slow and whatnot. Our AI engine, as you see over here to the left, is also analyzing the session for you. And this is where we're going to highlight some aspects of this session and bring it to your attention that need additional investigation. For example, you got duplicate messages that are happening, right? We got some TLS exceptions. So as it goes through, it'll find that and it'll put it on this thing. and you can see we're analyzing, and we'll actually generate an impact score. Think of that as like the Google Lighthouse score of quality of your session. But we'll do all that for you automatically. Just as an example, you can click on the duplicate messages. It will highlight where that is. And then we'll also have a table to show you what that information is. All right. So again, this is going on, analyzing your session. So just to kind of highlight, there are, as you can see, a number of KPIs that we are establishing. And I mentioned that the custom ones. So if you wanted to, let's say, for example, wanted to transition or track how long it took to transition a screen, you can drag and drop. And this will allow you to create a custom KPI where I want to analyze something during my session. So a page load request is one where it'll look at how long did it transition from one page to the next page to completely settle and get all that information on it. As you can see here, we can do an audio match, look for video content, loading animation, image match. So there are a number of things you can do in a time series request is so a lot of these topics for this will be in our in an upcoming webinar. We'll this is an introduction to our KPI capture and analysis. We're going to do one on more advanced on what you can do with the analysis of this information. So we'll cover these topics on that one. But just to let you know, this is here where you can just create one yourself. You can also do this within your automation script. You can also leverage our API calls just directly to point to a session and create a label and for information based on that session. Okay, I know this is a lot, but still we're not done here yet. One of the things I mentioned was I want to add this to a user flow, right? So now that I've gone through my session, you can add it to a user flow. Looks like this. Set this to a past status, and we'll add it to a user flow. What that means is it's going to group this session into that user flow with my other sessions. All right, so it's establishing that. And then pass, it's good. So the other thing that, all right, so that we allow you to do is one, you can add tags as another way to identify and classify your session. And we'll see how that comes into play in the performance monitoring section. We also allow you to download all this information. So the screen recording, the HAR file, the actual PCAP file that you can put into something like a Wireshark and analyze down at the network level. And then each of the KPI metrics can be exported out as a CSV. You can do this manually. You can also use an API call to capture that same information. So from an individual session, this is the information that we capture. Again, this is more of a high-level introduction to what we capture. And we can get into more details and advanced topics in a later webinar. Now, one of the things I mentioned earlier was, okay, I have this session, but how do I compare this session to like another session? So there's a button down here that says compare sessions, where you can pick a specific session. Let's see, let me remove this session and add this current session. This will allow me to compare the session I just did to a session I did earlier. This is one over in Great Britain. So it brings up the video here parallel. I can run the video. I can watch the timeline. These are where it's each of these orange bars highlights some issues that we might have found. And then underneath that, we have the network traffic that you have a comparison on the one session versus the other session. And then we also will highlight the issue cards that we found for the two sessions and put them on here to show you that, hey, the Great Britain one, we're having some slow downloads. So that, which is impacting that. The loading animation is higher on the one from Great Britain. So it just gives you a way to look at different avenues. And then the last thing I want to kind of bring up for our performance session is just to kind of highlight, we have all these sessions listed here. You can group them together. If I look at so I can filter this based on the user flow. And you can see here that I've done the same flow, the same test in India, Great Britain. So you can do these in all those different locations. You can add them to this user flow. Then you can do your comparisons again, depending on what's important to you. If it's location, it could be device type, OS type, or level, whatever is important. You create your sessions, you can group them into this user flow, and then you can analyze those sessions. Okay, and then getting more into the performance monitoring, where I want to look at this user flow in more depth. So this is a list of all the user flows we have in our demo environment. Rather than scroll through all that, let me look at. So I actually had this already loaded up here. So what it'll do for you is bring up all your sessions, and that's each one of these dots is a session. It'll put them in this timeline. And again, there's a lot you can do in the performance monitoring. Again, we'll cover more of the advanced topics later in a future session, but you can, this is looking at impact time. You can focus on specific issues that we might have captured that you can highlight. You can choose a device to highlight, a different location. Again, if you click on one of these sessions, you can actually, well, probably don't want to do that one. Let's get one, you have a high level one. Hey, well, what's going on with this session? So I can just click that and that'll go right to the session and allow me to evaluate, again, what went on, what caused this one to have a high impact time. And I can evaluate that even further. Another capability that we provide here, again, based on those tags that we did, I can grab all the ones I did in Great Britain. I can grab all the ones I did in the US. And you see there's 6 sessions here, 5 sessions here. What if I want to do an A/B comparison based on that? Well, that's what we can provide here. So it's the unique capability to group some sessions together based on a specific value that you want to care about and do an A/B comparison on. Maybe a lot of times it's version 1 versus version 2, could be iOS versus Android. Maybe if you want to get even lower level, Android 13 versus Android 12. So however you want to split that up, you can certainly do that using those tags. And then again, the same kind of comparison here where we group all those together and give you the A/B comparison, let you know which group has higher impact on whatever it might happen to be that you're wanting to track. All right, and then the other thing you can do, not to keep saying, hey, there's one more thing, but there is one more thing. You can actually, from a proactive perspective, create an alert watcher. And what this will do is when you run sessions, again, based on specific things, you can set a threshold of let me know proactively when I run this session if in this case, the network latency is 5% higher than the previous session, send me an alert. I want to know that right away. So this is helps you in that maybe you didn't specifically analyze it, or you just want to know that comparison between one session and another. We can help you out and be proactive on how we send you that information and then bring that to your attention. Okay, now, what if, in our case, for example, we had all these user flows and we want to track and look at what's the performance across all those and how can I leverage that and look at what's going on. That's where we want to use our dashboards. And to use our dashboards, just to highlight, we mentioned everything is stored in a database. So we actually give you the information to log into the database. As Nadav mentioned, you might want to pull this data out and stick it into your own reporting mechanism. If not, you can certainly leverage ours, but every table, and then within the table, we give you the column names that you that are there, so you can certainly leverage this for that. If you want to export it, we do have APIs and whatnot to export it. But then you also want to leverage our dashboards. Again, we're over here on the dashboard side. So a dashboard is just these panels that you can create and have on this dashboard to show you information that's important to you, right? And everybody has their own specific thing that they want to look at. It could be an overall view of all my tests. Did they pass, fail? Split it up by iOS and Android. I'm looking at all of these user flows. Who had the highest impact time? Where did they execute? And then, as you can see over here, you can create different dashboards that focus on different aspects. So I might have one team that wants to look at this specific dashboard that has it laid out like this. For that information, you can also scale it down to, let's just look at my current user flow, narrow it down to one user flow. If I want to do that, so then and then you can also obviously set the timing. So you can have these different types of charts, impact score. You can look at it over time. For the different devices, what's the battery drain? As an example, right? So this is all as an example because we have, for example, if you want to come to this to telco, this one is more focused on the network side of things, the top issues. So these are dashboards that you can create and track, again, on what's important to you. And then behind the scenes, this is our Grafana dashboard. So we give you the capability if you wanted to create your own panels and use the SQL queries to execute those panels to, again, highlight the information on this dashboard that is important to you. So again, just to kind of, there's a lot of different ways you can present this information. The important thing is it's in that database that the HeadSpin database that you can go and query, extract data, present it back to you on what's important and how you want to track that. So just to kind of wrap it up with one last thing, because I know some of you might be asking, okay, there's a lot of information there on what you're tracking and whatnot. So in our documentation tab, under this performance analysis button, we have this waterfall UI that you can click on. And this will explain, try not to scroll down too fast, but it'll explain all the different KPIs that we're capturing and what it means and how we're doing that. So it's just a way to, again, we're not going to spend all day here, but one of the metrics is blockiness. Well, this is how we come up with the blockiness figure for your session, right? The brightness, this, all that information is here defined for you to review. And then for the issues, for the issue card that would come up, we also document, all right, what are all those types of issues that we're looking at and how do we determine what deserves to be an issue and what's not an issue, right? So this is all defined for you here to let you see what we're looking for and why we would create an issue based on what we see within your session. So all that is here. Obviously, this is not the session to go in through our whole documentation and APIs, but there are APIs that, again, create your own custom labels. Again, we'll cover this in a more advanced topic. We'll just kind of give you a heads up. You can annotate it where you create your labels, and then you do the analysis based on what's important to you. You could do video analysis or audio analysis, etc. So just kind of wrapping it up. All the information is here in the dashboard, allows you to look at across user flows. You can get more specific, however you want to represent that to your view. Get into look at all your sessions within your user flow, group them together, analyze them, compare them one to the other. Then again, user flows are all listed here. You can look at the individual sessions, and then, you know, the devices here in the HeadSpin UI that you can access all over the world, and execute your manual and automated tests to create those sessions to allow you to analyze it and determine what impact is having on your user experience, right? Because a lot of that stuff, you know, from an end user perspective, you know, with the network impact, et cetera, you know, they don't see that on the user interface. They just know that this session is slow. Okay, with that, we'll wrap up the demo portion. Let's go back to like we're here at the Q&A session.
Awesome. Thanks for that detailed overview, Jamie. That was fantastic. So we'll now take some questions from the audience. It looks like we've got quite a few here. So the first question is from Rohan. So he's asking, can we play the recording session to have it run for multiple sessions and capture the KPIs?
Well, I think in that session, you know, the way you would do that is just create an automated session and run those against the different devices and create those sessions, you know, based off of that.
Excellent. The next question that we have is, how does HeadSpin actually go about capturing the network traffic?
Okay, the way we do that, quite honestly, is we have a man-in-the-middle proxy that is on the device itself. So that's how we're capturing all that traffic. So it's the traffic that we're capturing and the timing is all from the device perspective. And that's why it's so accurate, you know, when we're measuring the connections and for the gets and the responses, et cetera. So, you know, we're using the man-in-the-middle proxy.
Thanks, Jamie. So the next one that we have is, how does HeadSpin calculate the impact score for each session?
That's our well, it's kind of our secret sauce, but we're evaluating all the different issues that we calculate that we see in your session. And then we have a specific formula that we use to put all that together and come out with the impact score. And again, it is similar, kind of based on the Google Lighthouse score on the user experience. So yeah, that's a HeadSpin specific calculation.
Great. The next question that we have from Rohan once again is, can we define transactions for each user activity and get KPIs for those user specific actions?
Yes, exactly. And that would be, you could do that across, well, two ways. So from a manual perspective, if you remember when we were setting up the custom labels, that's how you would do that from a manual perspective. And an automation script, you would do a start and end timer. So you get the time of the session that you want to evaluate, and then you create a session label based on that time that you have there. So again, if it's a page load that you want to evaluate, you know, like how long did it take when I clicked on search for the page to actually fully get populated, you know, you would use that page load request.
Fantastic. The next one that we have is, what makes HeadSpin's KPI capture capabilities different than other device farm or digital experience QA platforms?
All right, so what makes it different is our breadth and depth of what we capture. You know, all those different KPIs, the ability to create the custom KPIs, you know, is one thing. And, you know, other providers will allow you to capture some device metrics and some other performance things, but not to the level that we capture, the detail level that we capture. And then the ability to do the AI evaluation of that session to come up with the issue cards, and then the capability to do the comparison of the different sessions and the regression intelligence. That's different. And then the dashboarding sets us apart as well.
Okay. The next question that we have from Nicholas, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. Do you measure audio and video moss? If yes, what metrics do you use for this? So the short answer is yes. But Jamie, do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, we do the video moss, and again, that's explained in the documentation. We have a calculation that we're doing the mean opinion score to base on that. It's a non-reference score that we generate. So yeah, that's something that we provide.
Fantastic. Another question from Nicholas is, do you have a process of result validation, especially for newest added performance metrics?
Well, I think the way we would do that is when you, if you remember when I added that session to a user flow and I set it to pass because that session did pass. So you could, during your, when you're adding it to the user flow, you can make that a pass or a fail. So if it's a failure, then that would be exposed in the dashboarding, capabilities where you have when you're tracking, passed or failed tests. For that specific test run. And then again, you would identify, which build it was or which feature we're trying to track. You can track all that as well.
Okay, great. The next question that we have from Darshan is, do we have any documents to automate session and integrate with Jenkins?
The way you do that, well, for us, for Jenkins, is pretty straightforward since we don't need a username and password like a lot of platforms. It's just an API token that you need as far as an API call and whatnot. The way we integrate with Jenkins is just put us in your build step as part of your pipeline, wherever that process is. If you want to upload an application that got built, just leverage a REST API to do that. And then when you run your automated test, what you could do there is grab that waterfall URL that got generated. You just grab that URL and you can pop that into the Jenkins console to track it there, or if you're tracking it somewhere else, you can put it there, as well as if you're updating a dashboard in HeadSpin, you could grab the HeadSpin dashboard URL and pass that out to your Jenkins console too. So it's really easy to use this within Jenkins.
Thanks, Jamie. And we have a couple of more questions from Narayan. The first is there a way to segregate client time, network time between client and server time using any KPIs available with HeadSpin today?
All right, I'm going to ask you to read that one more time so I can kind of get a clear picture in my head where we're trying.
Sure, no problem. Is there a way to segregate client time, network time between client and server time using any KPIs available with HeadSpin today?
So I'm guessing you're talking about within the session, you want to track, okay, am I just doing something on the device or not doing something on the device, like, idle time or something versus what's what I'm doing where I have traffic. Yeah, we can do that. Again, that would be a label request where you could track, idle time or whatever. So yeah, we can certainly do that.
Okay, great. And the second question from Narayan is, some of our applications are internal to the network and not accessible on the external network. Is there a way to use HeadSpin for such use cases? Also, is SSO a supported authentication method in HeadSpin?
All right, the easy one first. Yes, SSO is certainly supported, either OAuth 2 or SAML, or two main ones that people are using. So yeah, we certainly support that. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
That's okay. So some of our applications are internal to the network.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we support that in one of two ways. you can actually whitelist the device IP and port to enter in, to be allowed to access those internal systems. We have folks that have done that way. Or we have a HeadSpin tunnel that you can run on your PC that'll allow all the device traffic to go through your PC and access the network that your PC is connected to. So yeah, people do that in one of those two ways.
Thanks, Jamie. And there is another question that came in from Nicholas. In each location, do you have an engineer looking after devices?
Yeah, we have data center personnel. Yeah, for all of our locations. Yes.
All right. So it looks like that's all the questions at the moment. I'll give it another minute. Oh, we have one more. So Rohan is asking, how can we use a local device tested with HeadSpin?
Okay. Well, what we call that is create your own lab capability. So again, we have a CLI, command line interface, that you would download and install on your local machine. Plug in your device to that PC, and it's just a CLI command that would that you run that connects that device to the HeadSpin UI, and then you would see it as a device in the HeadSpin UI that you could access from that. So that's how we do that.
Okay, so it looks like that's all the questions at the moment. I'll just give it one more minute to see if any other questions come in, and then we'll look to wrap up the session.
Okay, and while we're waiting, I would say, just to make the offer that if you want to get a demo session for your own specific environment to talk about your particular situation and how HeadSpin might be able to help you there, let us know, and we'll be happy to schedule a session, and we can talk about your specific application and requirements and what you need to capture.
All right, I'll give it another 30 seconds here.
And then just send an email to that guy.
And we have one more from Nicholas. What do you use to measure battery?
We actually get that from the device. So from the Android, it's the device API into the device itself for the battery.
All right, so it looks like we don't have any other questions at the moment. So I'll go ahead and wrap up the session here. So just wanted to thank everybody for making the time to join us today. We hope this session was helpful and informative. And if there are any questions that come to you after the session that eluded you here, you can feel free to reach out to me at the email address below. And if you're interested in a more detailed kind of a walkthrough of our platform that is tailored to the use cases and KPIs that you and your organization care about, you can reach out to me and we'll schedule some time to connect with you. Typically, we can run through all of this in about 30 minutes or less, including Q&A. And I should also mention that we'll be hosting another webinar that's part of our overall series in November, on November 7th, where we'll talk about audio quality testing in real-time communication situations. We look forward to seeing you there and hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks again, and goodbye for now. Thanks, everybody.